Hi there. Welcome to my views and news. Two news stories. Firstly, allegations against the Ethiopian Airlines, a profitable institution for Ethiopian government, the largest airline in Ethiopia. Allegations by a news platform of another country that Ethiopian Airlines operated a secret controversial flight. Who was on board? Where did this flight land? Why is this flight controversial? What was secret about it? And can Ethiopian Airlines conduct such flights internationally, legally? Are such flights allowed? Could it lead to sanctions or at least international pressure, especially from the US, on Ethiopian Airlines after this flight? Secondly, PM Abiy of Ethiopia arrived in Nairobi, Kenya, where a meeting is going to be held today. International Development Association IDA Summit is being organized in Nairobi, Kenya. What is this IDA? What is PM Abiy looking to achieve by attending this summit? Firstly, viewers, Ethiopian Airlines, Ethiopian national carrier, the largest airline in Ethiopia, in Africa, with revenue of billions of US dollars, operated a secret flight allegedly. I would say allegedly. Why? Because obviously we don't have any uh, evidence, but the sources which are reporting, they say that, and they monitor flights data too. Most of their reports are credible. That is why I thought of sharing it with you. Ethiopian Airline flight, a secret flight, landed in Chad, in Jamina, Chadian capital, around 48 hours ago. What was this flight carrying? Who was on board? We know that Chad is election is going to be held in Chad after a week. I think on the 5th or 6th of May, election will be held there. Tensions high between the government and opposition parties. In Chad, Idris Deby died, fighting rebels a few years ago. Then his son, a military officer, Muhammad Deby, I think, took power. Middle Eastern countries have presence in Chad. They have influence here. Chad shares border with Sudan. In Sudan, we are seeing new tensions when, especially in Darfur, where rapid support forces are heading towards Al-Fashir. They tried to enter Al-Fashir from eastern side yesterday. International community is warning. UN Security Council is meeting today to discuss this issue. Sudanese government has filed a complaint against the UAE that UAE is interfering in Sudan by backing RSF. RSF want to take Al-Fashir, where there are tens of thousands of IDPs. UAE allegedly supports RSF through Chad. Are Russians here in Sudan? Are Russian Wagner fighters supporting RSF? We don't know. We have heard allegations. We don't know. Russians are there in Central African Republic, CAR. CAR shares border with Sudan. But we could not visually confirm the presence of Russian Wagner fighters in Sudan. The flight, Ethiopian Airlines flight, had Russian soldiers on board. Who is reporting that? Chad 1. Chad 1 is a Chadian news source, news platform, and it's information about flights flight data is generally correct. And this news source claimed that more than 100 Russian soldiers were on board this Ethiopian Airlines flight, which landed in N'Djamena 2 days ago. Why did Russian soldiers arrive in Chad? These are not soldiers; they are Wagner fighters. We know that Russians have a Wagner presence in Africa. Wagner is a private security company, but it is basically under the control of Russian military. Wagner's chief, Prigozhin, developed differences with Putin's generals, and he was killed last year. But Wagner still exists. Its name is now, I think, African Corps. Wagner has presence in Libya too. Libya shares border with Sudan. Presence in Central African Republic too. In some other countries of Africa as well. Just like Blackwater, Americans have Blackwater, Russians have Wagners. Question is, why did Russian Wagner fighters arrive in Chad? Because just this week, some Western news sources claim that Russia was supporting Chadian opposition groups, that Wagners were supporting Chadian opposition groups through Libya, through Central African Republic. But here, the flight with Wagner fighters on board arrived in N'Djamena. Obviously, the flight arrived there with the approval of the Chadian government. Rapprochement between Chadian government and Wagner, or there were no issues. Western media was spreading propaganda. Now, the arrival of Wagner in Chad, is it related to Chad's internal issues? Or is it about Sudan? Could we see the movement of these Wagner fighters into Sudan from Chad? That could happen too. Too early to say. But question is, why is Ethiopia becoming involved in this issue? Ethiopian Airlines is a civilian airline. Should it be part of transporting members of a private militia, private security group to an African country? Would that lead to sanctions or at least pressure upon Ethiopian government, Ethiopian Airlines? Let's see. We'll have to wait. Chad 1 is a reliable source, I believe. The report cannot be dismissed as fake. But I think clarification should come from Ethiopian Airlines. What is Ethiopian Airlines doing? Is it really transporting soldiers to, transporting Russian Wagner fighters to Chad? One flight tracked. There could be other flights too, which arrive or which will arrive in Chad in coming days or in the past few days. Secondly, viewers, Ethiopian Abiy arrived in Nairobi around half an hour ago. Kenya, Abiy has visited Kenya several times in the last few months. He is always warmly welcomed by William Ruto. This time, International Development Association Summit is going to be held in Nairobi, Kenya today. IDA, International Development Association, is part of the World Bank, and this organization gives almost zero interest loans or very low interest loans and grants to low income countries. It gives relief in loan repayments as well to African countries, poor countries. That is why PM Abiy is there to attend this summit, because Ethiopia is in talks with IMF and World Bank. Ethiopia wants loans, grants. Ethiopia wants suspension of its loan payments, etc. But Ethiopia, Kenya ties are taking a new turn, it seems. Kenya is closer to the west, to the world. Ethiopia trying to be close. Ethiopia considering use of Kenyan Lamu port for its fertilizer imports. A senior Kenyan delegation from their Manufacturers Association visited Addis Ababa last week. Talks were held about removal of trade barriers. The two sides discussed how to remove trade barriers to increase bilateral trade. Barriers like limit on axle load capacity, barriers like requirement of visas for drivers on Moale border crossing between Ethiopia and Kenya, and some other issues, and which currency to be used for bilateral trade, Ethiopian birr or Kenyan shilling. So all that were discussed. Kenya is mediating between Ethiopia and Somalia. Djibouti too. Why? Because Kenya is hoping that it will get a share of Ethiopian imports, exports, handling at its ports. It is offering reduced tariffs to Ethiopian government if Ethiopia shows interest in using Kenyan ports. So it's a business game. Kenya, very smart, trying to attract Ethiopian imports, exports. Let's see what happens this time. There'll be a meeting between Abiy and Ruto as well, apart from Abiy attending the summit. Over in coming videos. Thank you for watching.